Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with Councillor McDonald and the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. The lands we know today as the Township of Centre Wellington have been home to Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We acknowledge that we are on the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. With increasing encroachment by non-Indigenous settlers in the Township of Centre Wellington, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee could not continue their traditional lifestyle. Hang on, sorry, I lost it. Could not continue their traditional lifestyle and settled in their villages along the Credit River and in the Grand River Valley. These Indigenous nations uphold their treaty rights within our jurisdiction. Today, the Township of Centre Wellington remains home to Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We are grateful to have the opportunity to share and respect Mother Earth and are committed to building constructive and cooperative relationships with Indigenous nations.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Item number 3, addendums and corrections to agenda. Disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interests Act. Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I will recuse myself from item 11.3 and 16.1, reason being that staff at MHPC Planning prepared one of the original heritage impact reports related to this property. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Evoy.
Thank you. Through you, sir, I'll recuse myself from item 11.2 and 16.1 regarding a property on Garfraxis Street East because I am part owner of that property.
Thank you, Councillor Evoy. Now we're going to move down to item 5, closed session, that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington convene in closed session in accordance with Section 2392B of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock, any further comments or questions as it pertains to this item? Seeing none, we will now move into closed session and we'll be back, reconvene back up into the chambers around 6 o'clock. Thank you. Welcome back. We're reconvening into open session. Do I have a mover? Just wanted to read that the Council Township of Centre Wellington reconvene in open session. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor McDonald, the seconder, Councillor Evoy. Any further comments or questions on that? So we're back in open session. And we'll move down to item number 7, matters arising from closed session. And CAO Dan Wilson can speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. We're excited to bring forward recommendations to Council for appointments to our first Centre Wellington Economic Development and Tourism Municipal Services Corporation Board of Directors. This is an exciting first step in forming this new corporation. We want to thank everybody who has expressed interest and applied to be on the board. We had 28 applicants, which is an amazing amount of involvement and interest in the application process. We received very strong applications, and we're fortunate to have a community that is willing to share its time, expertise, and passion for these initiatives. So we already have Mayor Waters and Councillor Jefferson as voting members on the board, and we were recommending to Council that we add 5 community members to that board. And those 5 members are Skylar Hammond, Michael Ryan, Donald Fisher, Jocelyn Maurice, and Bob Cameron. So with the addition of those 5 members, with Council's support, we are feeling we have a very strong board of directors to start off the Municipal Services Corporation. Thank you.
Clerk, would you care to read the recommendation?
Yes. So through the mayor, the recommendation would read as follows: that the Council of the Township of Centre Wellington appoints the following individuals as public members to the Board of Directors of the Centre Wellington Economic Development and Tourism Municipal Services Corporation. They are as follows: Skylar Hammond, 3-year term; Michael Ryan, 3-year term; Donald Fisher, 3-year term; Jocelyn Maurice, 2-year term; Bob Cameron, 2-year term. And that if that does pass with this, that Council of the Township of Centre Wellington amends the agenda to include in item 13.1, it'd be a bylaw 2026-55, Board of Directors of the Centre Wellington Economic Development and Tourism Municipal Services Corporation.
Thank you for that, Tyler. So I'm looking for a mover on that recommendation. Councillor McDonald, they're looking for a seconder on that recommendation. Councillor Craddock, any further comments and questions relate to that recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Thank you very much for that. Very excited about the formation of that board and all we really appreciate all of the good folks that put their name in forward. A very difficult decision, but as a council and staff, I know we were looking forward to working with this new group, and it's I think a very good opportunity for our community as we move forward. Okay. So now we'll move down to presentations and announcements. And I'm very excited to read this. Tonight, Council is proud to recognize the extraordinary achievements of the Fergus Whalers Hockey Club. The Fergus Whalers enjoyed an extraordinary championship season, capturing the PJHL Pollock Division Championship, followed by the North Conference Championship before being crowned the Schmaltz Cup champions on May the 10th, competing against 61 Junior C teams from across Ontario. The Whalers demonstrated exceptional skills, determination, and teamwork throughout the playoffs. Their remarkable postseason run concluded with an impressive record of 20 wins and just 3 losses. That's pretty awesome. Culminating in the first Schmaltz Cup championship in the franchise history. That makes this accomplishment especially meaningful for the strong local connection behind the team. The Whalers are built by our community and for our community. We are pleased to welcome team captain Justin Ewald and players Ethan Henderson and Nolan Dury, whose journey from local minor hockey to provincial champion serves as an inspiration to young athletes. We also want to recognize the leadership of the coaching staff, Ryan Black, Randy Coverdale, Jeff Holscher, and Mark Martin, all of whom have a deep connection to the local roots and have helped build a championship culture through their commitment to the young youth and to our community. Championships are never won by players alone. They are the result of countless hours contributed by coaches, volunteers, billets, families, sponsors, and fans. This Smalls Cup victory reflects the strength of the entire Centre Wellington hockey community. And on behalf of the council and the residents of Centre Wellington, we'd like to congratulate the Fergus Whalers on an unforgettable season and a historic provincial championship. And we are incredibly proud of all that you have accomplished. Please join me in congratulating the Fergus Whalers. So I'm going to move up to the front here and do a presentation, and I'd like the folks to come up. So up here and as well.
Well, congratulations. Thank you very much. That's very exciting. Thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah. So again, on behalf of the Township of Centre Wellington, Council and staff, the winners of the Ontario Hockey Fergus Whalers, on behalf of the Mayor, Council, it's our sincere pleasure to extend congratulations on your exceptional achievement. Your synergy, determination, and teamwork have resulted in this impressive accomplishment. Signed, the Mayor.
Thank you very much.
That's for you. And then also a small gift as well. We always like the small gifts, but
Thank you very much.
Thanks again. And would you care to say anything?
Absolutely. I think on behalf
Oh, you know what? I'll get you to go up.
the mic.
Yep.
All right. You guys can come up too.
Yeah. Show that baby.
How's it going? I think I speak for not only the players, but the coaches and basically everyone in the organization. We say thank you very much for honoring this achievement. I believe the term is it takes a village, and there's no other community I'd like to do this with than Centre Wellington, and the support we've gotten in just 3 years has been immaculate. Being someone who's been there from day one, the fan support from day one to what we had come May 10th when we won it all was something I never thought I'd experience. And it was really cool to see some of the kids who may not even know you personally have their shirts off and have your number and last name on their chest supporting us and banging on the glass. So yeah, on behalf of everyone from Fergus, I'd just like to say thank you for honoring us here tonight.
Come up here, fine, coaches. And we'll get them all in here, and we'll do a picture together. So.
You need us all? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So this message is from Councillor Jennifer Adams, who is unable to be here tonight. And she says, and I'm quoting Jen, so sorry to miss you all today to celebrate and acknowledge your huge accomplishment. A new club winning the Schmaltz Cup after only 3 seasons speaks to the talent of this group, its players, coaches, and managers. A special shout out to our local boys and Ethan Henderson. You get a special shout out. This is Jen again. I have watched you skate since you were like 5 years old. Congratulations on representing Centre Wellington this past year so well. We're all so proud of you. So that's from Jen. And I also wanted to do another comment. I just want to really congratulate the whole team and the coaching staff, and a special shout out to Randy Coverdale and Jeff Holscher. I think you've been volunteering as hockey coaches in this community for at least 25 years each, probably maybe a little more. So I think just speaks to the dedication of the community and its coaches, and really appreciate all the time that volunteer coaches put into teams like this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilton. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the council meeting, or you can take that trophy and run down the Main Street. That's thank you again. Yep.
Go celebrate with an ice cream.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we're now moving down to item 9.2, Mayor's County Council report. Nothing, we're a bit late here, so nothing to report from there. I'm looking at item 9.3. Any councillor committee updates or anything you'd like to mention? Okay, a little late there. So now at this point, we're going to go down to delegations. 10.1, Catherine Pan, Senior Development Manager of Sabera Development Group. And I see you right there. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you, Mayor Waters and members of council. Thank you for having me this evening. As mentioned, my name is Catherine Pan, Senior Development Manager with the Sorbera Group. We own a 40-hectare parcel at Garifraxa and First Line. And as part of that, there is a heritage house that is listed, not yet designated, and that represents about 0.8 hectares of the entire parcel. In November of last year, OPA 126 brought those lands into the Fergus Primary Urban Centre, and that was really the catalyst for advancing our development plans and planning applications on those lands. We initially had plans to demolish the home. As we laid out the plan in sort of the most efficient way, it sort of had the house sitting right at our main entrance. And so with that, we filed an intent to demolish the home. That was in December of last year. And then January 2026 comes along. We met with Heritage Centre Wellington and we listened and we heard a lot of important messages. We heard the importance of preserving the property and the home, sort of regardless of whether or not it formally meets the tests and the criteria for designation. We heard the significance and kind of the special, the uniqueness around the Italianate architecture of the home. We heard the significance of the history behind the story of the family who built the house and still continues to live there till this day. There was a lot of discussion about the matriarch of the family, Margaret Davidson, and her contributions to the community. Importantly, we heard the opportunity to work with the committee and township staff to make this an enhancement, an enhancing feature to the development as we move forward. We also, of course, heard the very strong passion of that group for preservation. And so we went back, we considered what we heard, we continued to talk to and work with planning staff, and we withdrew our intent to demolish. We felt this was the right decision. It was made in the spirit of continued partnership with the township and upholding Sorbera's values as a developer who is mindful of local context, opinions, and views. To this day, we continue to dialogue with township staff on developing the plans for that future subdivision, which incorporates this farmhouse. In the immediate term, I mentioned that there is there's a tenant there who is a descendant of the Skew family who lives in that house, so it will remain as a residential home for the time being. In the fullness of time, we envision it to be zoned to allow for a multitude of community, commercial, and residential use options. We've given consideration to the anticipated landscaping, the parking requirements, and how the site will function and interface with the rest of the community. And in April of 2026, we submitted an OPA application to bring the lands into conformity with the township's OPA. And so that sort of is the starting point for the recommendation report that you see in front of you. In closing, I would like to say that we wholeheartedly support staff's recommendation to issue the notice of intent to designate 8076 Wellington Road 19. We look forward to our continued work with the township, with Heritage Centre Wellington, and the community to bring forward this land use that contributes to the vibrancy of the community and pays respect to the deep history of the area. Thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you. I'd like to offer an opportunity for council at this point to maybe make a comment or ask a question. Councillor Evoy.
Thank you through you, sir. First of all, thank you. I love the foresight and understanding the value of our heritage properties, regardless of formal designation or not. I'm just looking at when you say in the rollout of time, what does that look like for the homeowner? And are they on board? Because I wasn't privy to those conversations. Are they on board with your plans and timing around that?
Through the mayor to the councillor, thank you for your question. Yes, I've had many conversations with the tenant in the home, and he's very aware of what we're doing and very supportive of what we're doing. In fact, when we filed the intent to demolish, he was also okay with that. So I think going to this next step to preserve the house and to designate it, he's also very content with that. And in terms of the timeline, again, he's aware that he is able to stay for as long as he is able and willing and would like to. And we've made that very clear to him. So, yeah.
Again, thank you for the consideration of the property. Our Heritage Centre Wellington did a lot of work, background on work, and I think they really hit it on the importance of this property in terms of its preservation. I always think good design and planning involves sort of what are the values of a property and working around that. And I think I know that Sabera picked up on that as well from what Heritage had comment on it. So I think, if anything, this will be a plus for the development and the look and the feel of it, and it'll give it obviously importance that way. So I think the reconsideration was a really good choice. And again, thank you for doing that, because sometimes I know these things are not that easy of a decision. So really appreciate that. And thank you for your presentation. I'll read that the council received the delegation from Catherine Pan, Senior Development Manager of Sabera Development Group, regarding agenda item 11.3 for information. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Craddock, seconder on that. Councillor Evoy, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is so moved. And then, okay, so, yep. So now we're moving down to item number 11, consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and voted on collectively. However, any member of council may request one or more items be removed from the consent agenda item for separate action. So we'll start with a mover on that first, and then we can go. So are you a mover on that? Yes, Councillor Wilton.
So she can't, because she has to move out because we declared both. So we have to go to other.
Okay, so sorry. Oh, okay. So let's. I won't do the mover. Let's deal with the questions first. Okay, Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I would actually like to pull item 11.4 out of the consent agenda for a separate discussion.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. On 11.5, the notice of study completion for the transit feasibility study, I was just curious to know a little bit more about what the next implementation steps are. In the report, it says next steps. That's the last one is implementation steps. So I'd just be curious, like the timeline and what some of those first kind of actions would be to get us towards transit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and through the mayor. So next steps. So the notice of study completion, like we're following the municipal class environmental assessment framework, and this kind of closes the loop on the study process and the consultation as well. Just kind of notifying everyone on the project stakeholder list, on the contact list, and advertising that kind of the final plan is available for review. And then after that, once that we usually put that out for 30 or 45 days. Then after that, I think it's getting meeting with the county, who we've talked about having that shared service agreement, and kind of looking at there's an open grant opportunity, the OTIF grant that we spoke about, that Dennis spoke about too during the presentation last month, and just seeing, what kind of opportunities exist within that grant, and then also kind of how we kind of move forward together with the county to implement transit in the community. So yeah, those are the next steps. Yep.
Any further comments on those other ones other than 11.4? Okay. So do we want to deal with those ones first, or?
So through the mayor, with 11.5 being pulled, we should take the motion separate for 11.5, which would be the Council of the Township of Center.
No, 11.4.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Sorry. So through the mayor, we just dealt with the transit, which was 11.5, correct?
Yep.
Right. So we should deal with the motion for 11.5 before we proceed on. So with that being said, the Council of the Township of Center Wellington endorsed the transit feasibility study and direct staff to publish the notice of study completion. Deal with 11.4, then we'll do 11.5, then we'll do 11.4 after.
Okay. Okay. He's read the recommendation. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Evoy, seconder on that. Councillor Wilton. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is so moved. Okay.
Yeah, 11.4.
11.4. Okay. Did you want to speak to that? Yes. Go ahead, Councillor Wilton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Waters. So this environmental assessment deals with the geranium study or housing development out in off of County Road 19. So I'm just curious because there's quite a change from what it was before. So I'm wondering if on the map on whatever page this is, second page, I think there's a map showing the study area, and outlined in red was the original one, and then in blue is the new study area, and it's significantly larger. So I'm just wondering if there can be some context provided as to why it's so much larger and what the whole kind of plan entails in terms of, like, now it goes right into Bellwood Lake, whereas before it was quite an isolated piece of land closer to the road. So if I'm assuming it'll be you, Colin, or maybe Brett as well, could provide some context on why this EA is starting now and what the changes have triggered this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, and through the mayor. So what has changed? Yeah, I think, the developer is looking at bringing forward an application for rezoning, and kind of the premise, fundamental premise is it was a plan of condominium previously under the previous application. Now they're looking at a plan of subdivision with municipally owned and operated infrastructure, so municipal roads, and the municipal communal water, wastewater systems, municipal stormwater. So that has, so we're looking at the infrastructure from a different lens, from a township ownership and operation lens. And we've been having some discussions with them as to, a discharge of the wastewater treatment plant to something other than, if council recalls, they were initially proposing the on-site ponds as the wastewater treatment plant discharge location. The township staff have asked them to look at other options. And so that's the area kind of in blue, is looking at potential pipe alignments and discharge locations for the wastewater treatment plant. Basically, their water system, currently, they're not really proposing anything different, still wells, still a groundwater-based water supply system. But again, that would be a public system. They're proposing it to be public as well, or township-owned. So that triggers a whole suite of requirements under the Clean Water Act, so source protection. So now, if it's going to be public, we need to do things like a bed and source water protection plan, identify significant drinking water threats, and make sure those threats are mitigated. So that's another part of this, is working through, like, we're already planning to do amendments to our source water protection plan to bring in our new wells, so well area 7 and 3 and the higher rate at F2. This would also look at establishing new wellhead protection areas for this potential municipal water system for the development. So, lots of layers to this, and with the decision to, or the proposal by the developer to make this a public system, we're kind of walking down the path to make sure at the end of the day what is proposed is acceptable to staff, and then that will be ultimately presented to council for consideration and final approval. And their timing is kind of like the spring of next year. It's once we have some more details on the systems proposed. So hopefully that answers the question. If there's anything else, I'm happy to elaborate more. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. So just to clarify then, that when you say the blue outline on the map in the report shows going into Bellwood Lake above the dam. So when you talk about the outflow of the wastewater treatment plant would be directed towards Bellwood Lake, is that correct?
So yeah, that's one of the options being considered is routing the discharge to Bellwood Lake. They've also included second line, so there's another option to assess a discharge down second line to the Grand River as well. So those will be, from what we understand, be considered under the EA process.
Thank you. That's very helpful. This question might be for Brett, but maybe you want to keep going. Is if they're doing another OPA, what is the change in terms of number of housing units that they're contemplating?
They haven't filed the applications yet, so I can't really say for sure.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Just thinking again, if this is going to be a public infrastructure system, water and wastewater, this is currently outside of our urban boundary. Is that a common practice, do you know, across municipalities, or is there a precedent we could look to?
Through the mayor. So communal systems are out there. I think municipalities generally prefer utilizing the centralized systems that we have, right, connecting to existing municipal water and wastewater systems. We see this as not precedent setting, but kind of dealing with the existing plan of subdivision that's already on the lands. So we're seeing this as a bit of a one-off scenario. From staff's perspective, connecting to municipal services is always the preferred solution. Although the province, I think, maybe has in their provincial policy statement some wording about communal systems and trying to encourage the use of those more. But I think from a staff perspective, connecting to our centralized systems, water, wastewater, is always the preferred route to go, for sure. Yep.
Any other comments, questions from council? Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I'm just wondering, as this all kind of gets pulled together, and if we're looking at being like a public system, will you also include in your report impact on staffing and any financial implications that will fall out of this?
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Jefferson. Yeah, absolutely. So that'll all get worked out through the environmental assessment process, financial implications, implications to the township, staffing levels that will all get reported back to council. Yeah, as part of the completion of this work. Yep.
Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. I'm not sure if you were with us or not. I believe it was at Roma. We were just newly elected, and it was a whole workshop on communal systems because they're doing them in the north a little bit more because of the rock and other things. So I do know there are some doing it out there, but I appreciate you bringing this forward. And I would like to ask the clerk a question, if I may. Why was this a consent agenda item when clearly it would be heavily discussed? It would normally be discussed in my mind.
Yeah, so thank you. Through the mayor, my understanding is that this was brought forward for information and update, and there'd be further information that would come down the line for discussion for council. So that's why this is put on the consent agenda at this time.
Any further comments or questions? Okay. I'm going to read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington receives for information update on servicing strategy for the Fergus Golf Course redevelopment and related notice of study commencement for an environmental assessment addendum. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Craddock, seconder on that. Councillor McDonald, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Okay, and then we have to go to that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington approve consent agenda items 11.1 through to 11.6, with items 11.4 and 11.5 separated for discussions. Do I have a mover on that? Or sorry, if that was sort of the balance of that. Yes. No. So okay. Thank you for that. Okay.
So we just need a mover.
The mover on that, Councillor McDonald. Okay, a seconder on that, Councillor Jefferson. All those in favor? Okay, so moved. Thank you. Okay, so now we're down to consideration. Sorry?
It's consent.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're moving down to consideration of reports. Item 12.1, 2026-2030 Joint Compliance Audit Committee. And we have a report from Nadia. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank you for having me. Good evening through the mayor, members of council. Before you is a report regarding the establishment of a compliance audit committee for the 2026 to 2030 council term. This is a legislative requirement per the Municipal Elections Act and is required to be established prior to October 1st in an election year. To meet the requirements outlined in the Act, Centre Wellington has joined in partnership with the Wellington County municipalities to create a joint compliance audit committee. This is permitted within the Municipal Act and has allowed the participating municipalities to reach a wider pool of qualified candidates. The purpose of the committee is to receive compliance audit applications in relation to election campaign finances and proceed with the appropriate legislated steps as outlined in the report to determine whether a compliance audit is warranted. Compensation of $250 plus mileage will be provided if the committee's services are required and will be the responsibility of the municipality for which the audit is borne. The candidates presented for recommendation of appointment to the Joint Compliance Audit Committee for the 2026 to 2030 council term are that of 3 current members from the 2022 to 26 committee, listed as Jim McQueen, Douglas Auld, Joseph Servos, and an additional new applicant, Chris McGravy. I would like to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Thank you, Nadia. Comments, questions from council? You did a very good job there. So I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington receives report Core 2026-29 regarding the Joint Compliance Audit Committee for 2026 to 2030 term of council, and that council approves the term of reference for a Joint Compliance Audit Committee with the Wellington County municipalities attached as Section A for the 2026-2030 term of council, and that council direct the mayor and clerk execute the corresponding bylaws to establish a joint compliance audit committee for 2026-2030 term of council, and to appoint the members of the joint compliance audit committee. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Evoy. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is so moved. So now we do move down to 12.2, provision naloxone for Centre Wellington Fire Rescue Report. And I see Jason in the corner of my eye approaching the lectern. Hello, Jason.
Button. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and public. I'm just bringing forward to you this evening and seeking your approval in entering an agreement with Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health for the provisions of naloxone kits. The agreement ensures ongoing access to naloxone and for emergency responses. It is a proven life-saving intervention and it improves the outcomes while waiting paramedics when the fire services administer it. The CWFR personnel is ready trained through our medical protocols through the Hamilton-based hospital and trained in recognizing overdoses and administering the naloxone itself. This agreement will provide naloxone kits at no cost to the municipality or the fire service, formalizes the access to the public health naloxone program as well, and it supports continued supply to Center Wellington Fire in the need for replenishment. The benefits of this is that frontline responders have immediate access to life-saving medication. There's a reduction of preventing overdose deaths and overall emergency medical response capabilities, which also aligns with Council's goal of improved community health, safety, and wellness. This is a low-risk, no-cost initiative that strengthens the ability to save lives within our community. And the recommendation is brought forward to approve the agreement as presented. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Jason. Comments, questions? Councillor Evelyn.
Through you, sir, I just want to say, whilst it's taken us a little while, I'm really glad we're here. And I'm sure our Safe Communities committees, as well as our hospital and EMT teams are very grateful, as well as, of course, our neighbors who might find themselves in need. So thank you for bringing this forward and for taking it on.
Councillor McDowell. Oh, okay. Any other councillors' comments? Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'll read the recommendation. The Council of Township of Centre Wellington receives for information report CS 2026-22, and that council delegates authority to the Managing Director of Community Service to execute the agreement attached to report number CS 2026-22, which established the provision of naloxone kits from Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health to the Township of Centre Wellington. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is so moved. Thanks again. Oh, but you're still here. Well, so I was missing you already. So technical rescue service agreement with neighboring municipalities. And we have a report from our fire chief, Jason Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, this report seeks Council's approval to enter into technical rescue service agreements with our neighboring municipalities. This would set Centre Wellington Fire Rescue as a regional provider of special technical rescue services within the county and abroad. The technical rescue incidents are high risk and low frequency events requiring specialized skills, training, and equipment. Over several years, Centre Wellington and Centre Wellington Fire Rescue have made significant investments in training, equipment, and capabilities. We are now positioned to support neighboring municipalities during complex emergencies in their time of need. What this agreement will do for us is a specialized rescue service upon request, including rope rescue, water and ice rescue, and technical rescue consultation and support. This establishes a clear operating framework where dispatch and response procedures, incident command integration, and recovery cost, liability, and safety provisions. The deployments only occur when local levels are maintained and available. Enhancement to the regional public safety throughout the access to specialized expertise. This positions Centre Wellington as a leader in specialized emergency response. It supports our training, experience, and operational readiness for our personnel, and it strengthens intermunicipal partnerships. The model is based on a full cost recovery program and the annual retainers and service fees where there is no financial impact on the township from this report. And in closing, the initiative leverages the existing investments to improve regional outcomes, enhance public safety collaboration, and service excellence. And the recommendation is Council approve the agreements as presented. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Comments, questions? Councillor McDonald.
Great job. Thank you.
Councillor Evoy.
Actually, through you, sir, I just want to take a minute and congratulate the graduating class and the onset of all the new members onto the team. So looking forward to see you guys continuing to serve in the manner in which you've got this great reputation for doing so. So thank you and congrats to all.
Thank you very much. We're very, very fortunate to have many applicants for the positions and have great firefighters, if you will, that have achieved the new positions, 6 positions that we've had. So it's an honor to have them with us.
Any further comments or questions from council? Okay, thank you for that, Chief. I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Central Wellington receives report number CS 2026-23 for information, and that the Council of Township of Central Wellington delegates authority to the Managing Director of Community Service to execute technical rescue service agreements between the Township of Central Wellington and participating municipalities for the provision of specialized technical rescue services by Central Wellington Fire Rescue, and that council delegates authority to the fire chief to finalize operational procedures, deployment protocols, and service levels standards associated with the technical rescue service agreements. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Craddock, seconder to that, Councillor Wilton. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Okay. Thank you. We move down to item 12.4, zoning amendment, RZ 05 2026 decision report. Deanna, welcome. Welcome to the lectern, and looking forward to your report.
Good evening, Mayor Waters and members of council. Through you, the report before you pertains to a zoning amendment application for the property at 7010 Third Line in West Garifraxa. The property is located on the southwest corner of Third Line and Side Road 20 and is approximately 24.5 hectares in size. It's designated prime agricultural and contains lands designated greenlands and core greenlands. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone the property from agricultural to agricultural exception to prohibit residential uses. The property was previously the subject of a county severance application, which severed the lands from an existing blacksmith and farrier services operation. The zoning amendment is required to satisfy a condition of approval of this severance application. GRCA and county staff provided comments stating no objection, and a public meeting was held May 25th, 2026, where no objections were received. As such, staff recommend approval of the application, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that update. Yes, is there any comments or questions from council? Okay. Seeing none, I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Central Wellington approves rezoning application RZ 05 2026 for the property at 7010 Third Line West Garifraxa, and that corresponding amending bylaw be given 3 readings. We'll have a mover on that. Councillor Evoy, a second on that. Councillor Jefferson, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. So now we move down to item 12.5, request for tender 4326, reconstruction of Smith Street and Victoria Crescent in Elora. Welcome, Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Waters. And through you, this report provides recommendations and seeks council approval for award of request for tender 43-26 regarding the reconstruction of Smith Street and Victoria Crescent, Elora. Recommendations are that council award request for tender 4326 to 410754 Ontario Limited, operating as Sousa Concrete at a contract price of $1,777,490.28, including contingency and excluding HST. And that the Council of the Township of Centre Wellington directs staff to explore options for funding the proposed parquet. And further that, the project funding be updated as shown in report FIN 2026-14. The RFT was issued in accordance with the Township's purchasing procurement bylaw and was limited to previously pre-qualified general contractors where the Township had received 4 responses. Award to this vendor would be based on the lowest cost compliant bid. The Smith Street reconstruction was approved in the 2026 capital budget, and the Victoria Crescent reconstruction project is scheduled to be completed in 2027. And this is based on the 10-year capital forecast. As such, staff are seeking pre-approval of this segment of the project to facilitate full project award to the lowest priced proponent. While the total project cost is estimated to be approximately $578,000 under budget, to facilitate the award, the Victoria Crescent wastewater component will require a modest budget top-up from the township's wastewater reserve of approximately $691, and that is if council is supportive of advancing this project to award. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Adam. Comments, questions, Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. I think I can go on experience that sometimes going with the lowest bid isn't always the best option. So I just, I'm looking to you as the experts that you are comfortable with this bid option and you know them well and you know their work. If I could get a little bit maybe from Colin, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, Councillor McDonald, and through the mayor. So this, just earlier this year, as Adam mentioned, that we did a pre-qualification process, so request for supplier qualification, and basically we've looked at the experience, the expertise, of the general contractors. We basically took I think we had over 30 submit interest, respond to our RFSQ, and we have 22 on the list that qualified. So we have confidence in based on their experience, their expertise, confidence in that group, and Sousa Concrete is on that group. The precedent projects that they supplied us, we asked for 5 projects completed of similar scale and scope within the last 5 years. Just checking their precedent projects, they're right in line with what we're proposing to do on Smith and Victoria. So, and some of our staff do have experience working with Sousa in other roles, and have been speaking favorably as well about them. So, so we're looking forward to getting the project started. So, thanks.
Well, through you, Mayor Waters, I'm looking forward to it too, because it needs to be done. And you've reached out to the community there, and they're comfortable with. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Okay.
Through the mayor. So after award, we'll reconnect with the community and start issuing, like getting up signage and that sort of thing. We have been in contact with some of the community members out there in recent months, like before going to tender. But after award, that's when we kind of do the door-to-door delivery of notices and just informing the community, things like garbage pickup and mail and that sort of thing. So that'll be kind of the next step as part of the process here. Yep.
I super appreciate that. And Mayor Waters, can I ask when the project will start? Again, you did mention it, just in case the public missed it.
No, thanks for the question. So it's to be determined at this stage. So it'll be this construction season. But one of the first things we do is schedule a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. During that meeting, the contractor provides us with their schedule and with a start date and when they intend to mobilize. So as soon as we know that, that'll be part of the letter that goes to the residents there. Yep.
Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. Just maybe, Adam, can you clarify, part of the recommendation is that the council, township, blah, 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 direct staff to explore options for funding the proposed parquet. And then in the financial statement, it says that we're $578,000 under budget. So I'm just missing couldn't we look to that for the funding, or where are we looking for funding? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Wilton, and through the mayor. As part of the scope of this project, the view would be that to include a parquet where one doesn't currently exist would be viewed as a level of a service enhancement. So with that, we would be looking at alternate sources of funding to facilitate that parquet for kind of the urban development within that neighborhood project. So we would be looking for potential community partners to kind of help support that project, as it would be viewed as a level of service enhancement, which isn't typically contemplated through other reconstruction projects similar to this nature.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm also curious because I believe this street is quite a popular street for the tourism season and quite busy. So I'm just curious what the plans are for detour routes and that to minimize the impact on neighboring streets. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll field that one through the mayor. So, yeah, detour routes, like we're going to have, it'll be local access only through the construction zone on Smith Street. There'll be kind of pedestrian signage diverting pedestrians around that area. So I think we'll generally be encourage pedestrians to use Geddes. Like it's a pretty popular walk to kind of get to the community center and walk along the gorge. So if they're not already walking along the gorge, you know, I think the best way around would be kind of via Henderson and Geddes to David. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how we'll be diverting pedestrians. But vehicle traffic will be clearly signed that it'll be local access only for the kind of the residents that live in that area. Yeah.
Councillor McDonald.
Getty Street's closed right now, so I'm just curious, will county be wrapping up before we start this? Do we know?
Through the mayor, yeah, I'm not 100% certain when the county's wrapping up their work. I know, like, I believe their retaining wall work is largely done, but they're just working on a culvert replacement in a different area of Geddes. But I can reach out to the county and get a sense for when they finish up. But the thinking is that kind of the detour route vehicles would divert back to County Road 7 for the most part along David Street. So, and that would be their kind of route to 18 or down to 22 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Any further? Yes, Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. Just a quick question. Are we doing anything to accommodate parking for the residents if they're unable to park in their own driveways along that stretch in our curling club or rec center there, like the JECC for parking for them?
For sure, yeah. Through the mayor, so typically through our reconstructions, like they'll have access to their driveways most of the time. There may be, certain occasions when they're doing, the sewer right in front of their house, where they might have to park on another street. So it could be Henderson's nice and close. It could be at the JECC as well. So where it gets, a little interesting is when our overnight parking bylaw takes effect at the end of October there. So yeah, we'll definitely work with them to kind of get an exemption if they have to do any on-street parking during that time. Yep.
Councillor McDonald.
My apologies, Mayor. I just have one more. Do we have a project manager for this to kind of help the people on the street? I know that was one of their requests originally.
And through the mayor, yes, they will all get to know Jack very well. So, yes, yeah. So the township will have a construction inspector. Jack is our very seasoned construction inspector, over probably 40 years of experience doing this sort of work. And yeah, he is a wealth of knowledge and will be, he'll be kind of the first point of contact if the residents have any questions or concerns. Yep.
Any other further comments or questions from council? Okay. Thank you, Adam. I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington award request for tender 4326 regarding the reconstruction of Smith and Victoria Crescent, Elora to 410754 Ontario Limited, OA Sousa Concrete at a contract price of $1,777,490.28, including contingency, excluding HST, and that the Council of the Township of Centre Wellington direct staff to explore options for funding the proposed parquet. Do you have a mover on that? Councillor Craddock, sorry. Oh, and further, sorry, further that the project funding be updated as shown in report FIN 2026-14 dated 29th June 2026. I'm assuming you're still on, Councillor Craddock. Councillor McDonald, seconder. All those in favor? Sorry, go ahead. Any further questions or comments? Yes, go ahead. Councillor Welton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. Just a comment that I hope we don't lose the parquet if there's no additional funding. So I hope that that could come back to council in case of a gap there. So thank you.
So we have a mover, a seconder. We've had comments, questions. All those in favor? So moved. Thank you. Now we move down to item 12.6, Reserve and Reserve Fund Policy Update. And Adam is to speak to this.
Thanks again, Mayor Waters. The report before Council pertains to the Township's Reserve and Reserve Fund policy. Municipal reserves and reserve funds are important long-term financial planning tools, and they're funds set aside to meet future funding requirements. Having a reserve fund and reserve policy in place provides guidance for Township staff in preparing the annual operating and capital budgets. This report identifies proposed changes to the existing reserve and reserve fund policy, most notably the inclusion of new reserves to support housing-related matters, the municipal accommodation tax, and a new reserve for battery energy storage system community benefit contributions. In addition to these new reserves, staff are recommending the closure of the McDonald Trust Reserve, the CWCI Loan Reserve, and the Neighborhood Wellness Reserve, as these have either effectively satisfied their original intent or are viewed as redundant through changes in service provision at the township level. Operationally, staff are also recommending the transfer of funds from the General Capital Reserve to various reserves, including the WSIB ABO Reserve, the Legal Matters Reserve, the Insurance Claims Reserve, Contingency Reserve, and the Community Impact Grant Reserve Fund to meet recommended funding targets for these individual reserves. And we're also recommending increasing the target balance in the contingency reserve from $250,000 to $600,000 to provide additional capacity within the reserve for items related to unforeseen events or emergent township requirements. When factoring the recommended closures and transfers, the net impact to the General Capital Reserve is in the amount of $62,072, which will support future planned and unplanned tax-supported capital projects. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Adam. Comments, questions from council? Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and through you. Just curious on the second page, I think it's the recommended new reserves, the Municipal Accommodation Tax Reserve Fund. It states the fund is being established to fund operating capital costs that demonstrate benefits of tourism-related initiatives and will be funded by the town and municipal accommodation tax revenues. Should this not also include economic development initiatives?
Yeah, through the mayor, I think with the purposes of the municipal accommodation tax funded by kind of the tourism industry and the recommendations, there is a limitation through legislation that the revenue dollars be satisfied for tourism related activities as opposed to economic development. But I think with the confines of the township's portion of those revenue dollars, we do have some flexibility. We'd have to investigate that a little bit further as we get things spooled up.
Follow up then, maybe either Adam or Dan, could you clarify how that connects then to the activities of the MSC board that we just established this evening? Thank you.
I'm happy to take a stab at it. And as a first go, and Dan, feel free to chime in with any kind of items that I perhaps missed. But in terms of the contributions to the MSC, as the township collects those dollars, the MSC would be the recipient of 50% of those proceeds, and of which they would have the direction in terms of the utilization of those dollars, understanding that they still would have to have their budget supported through township council, obviously. But the suggestions within the legislation are that they are to be used strictly for tourism-related activities.
Dan, do you have anything further to comment that way?
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I believe we'll have an opportunity to discuss this reserve fund in more detail. We'll be bringing forward a more detailed policy similar to what you see with the OLG policy in the near future, probably with the 2027 budget deliberations. We just have to keep in mind that there's the MAT funds that go to the Municipal Service Corporation, and there's MAT funds that are retained by the township, and both will have differing policies. And we can flesh that out further with council when we bring that forward.
Any further comments or questions from council? Council Craddock.
Thank you, and through you, just pertaining to the WSIB and firefighters, the loss of insurance there, and what seems to be I guess my question is the excess loss insurance or the reserve dedicated solely to firefighters, or is it for any big event?
Yeah, through the mayor, WSIB is accessible to all township employees, and we are a Schedule II WSIB employer. So in terms of facilitating our future potential obligations, we have an analysis conducted through an actuarial services. So they effectively define what those kind of ceilings are, what our funding threshold should be. And as staff kind of continued through the policy review on an annual basis, we look to mechanisms to availably fund those reserves and reserve funds.
Which is no longer available outside of doing it internally. Excess loss insurance coverage, which stopped in 2021.
I would have to take that away and do some further investigation and report back.
Okay, because if we're covering it ourselves, I think any loss of life, I don't know, it's not going to happen, but worst case scenario there, a $2.5 million reserve for any event of that type seems relatively small, in my opinion.
Again, through the mayor, we'll do an investigation on our side and report back. Thank you.
Any further comments? Or yes, Councillor Wilton.
Thank you. Just clarifying the McDonald Trust Reserve, because I thought there was still some money in there for the Bissell Park project. Is that just kind of tucked away somewhere safe in another place, or? Thank you.
Yes, through the mayor. Yeah, through conversations with the community group that was responsible for the recipient of those funds were directed back to the township and are formulated as part of the actual Bissell Park project currently. So this effectively brings all identified projects under the McDonald Trust to a close, which so with that residual $15,000 would then just be directed back to the general capital reserve for future use.
Any further comments or questions from council? Okay, thank you, Adam. I'll read the recommendation that the council Township of Centre Wellington adopt the reserve and reserve fund policy outline and report FIN 2026-04 dated June 29th, 2026, and that the council of Township of Centre Wellington authorize the mayor and clerk to sign a bylaw with respect to this policy, and that any transfers between reserves required as a result of the 2026 transaction relating to the updated policy be made by staff. Do we have a mover on that? Councillor Evoy. Seconder on that? Councillor McDonald. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. And now we're moving down to bylaws. Do this, you want me to do those and then we'll come back on the end there?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, okay. Okay, yep. Okay, so 2026-49, a bylaw to establish compliance audit committee. Number 2, 2026-50, bylaw to appoint members to the compliance audit committee. Next, 2026-51, a bylaw to establish a reserve and reserve fund policy and to repeal bylaw 2025-29. Next, 2026-52, a bylaw to amend Township of Centre Wellington zoning bylaw 2009-045 as amended to change the zoning amendments RZ 05 2026 to certain lands from A to A28-9. Next, 2026, a bylaw to appoint environmental protection officer of the Township of Centre Wellington for the purpose of enforcing the Township Sewer Use Bylaw 2026-66 and Stormwater Management Facilities Bylaw 2026-05. Yeah. And 2026-55, a bylaw to appoint public members to the Board of Directors of Centre Wellington Economic Development and Tourism Municipal Service Corporation. That bylaws 2026-49 through 2026-53 and bylaws 2026-55 be read a first, second, and third time and pass, signed by the mayor and clerk, and corporate seal affixed. Do you have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Jefferson, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is so moved. Okay. Notice of motions. Motions where notice have been given. Confirmatory bylaw. Bylaw to confirm the actions of council, recommendation that bylaw 2026-54 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held June 29, 2026 be introduced a first, second, and third time and passed in open council. To have a mover on that? Councillor, sorry.
Can't go to you, boy.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Jefferson. Seconder on that, Councillor McDonald. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Okay, and adjournment. Do we have a mover on our lovely adjournment? Councillor Wilton. Seconder on that, Councillor Craddock. Any further comments, questions on adjournment? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Good night, everyone.